Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to this brand new episode of Hockeytown Rundown. You're here with us once again, your beautiful host, Carlo and Zach. Carlo, it's been a couple weeks since we recorded an episode, but we did a lot of live streams in between then and now. But what's shaking, buddy? How we feeling today?
Feeling good. Feeling good. Shout out to the saline nasal rinse, saving my life. Face your fears, folks. I know it's kind of weird, but it works. So quick shout out to the saline nasal rinse. No brands, no ads, no free ads. We're moving on, but we're feeling a lot better. How you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm feeling pretty good. You're going to have to tell the live stream chatters that we've collected over the span of getting deeper into the Red Wings playoff push. And I do want to take a second and say thank you to everyone who joins those live streams. It's a lot of fun doing those with Haskies. We're going to get Carlo to join those more often, I believe. Hopefully we can. I know he's busy with things, but it's a lot of fun. Definitely appreciate it. And we've grown since then too. So appreciate you guys doing that, subscribing, liking, all those things. And if you're joining us on this brand new episode, why don't you go ahead and do the same thing? If you haven't already, we truly do appreciate it. If you're watching or listening on YouTube, you can also find us on Apple and Spotify, all the major social media platforms as well, like Twitter, X, Instagram, Facebook, all those places. But I'm doing very well. No free ads like Carlo said, but the chatters on the live stream would say Zach is giving free ads on his sparkling protein water, Carlo. I really need to stop that. Dude, it's so good. It is so good, man. Awesome. But the chatters loved it. They love it, dude. It's amazing. But dude, last night was pretty good. We'll touch on the Dallas Stars game, just slightly touching on all the other games too. For those that don't remember, we are changing it up a little bit. We're not going to go play by play into the games. We're just going to slightly touch on them, what we liked, what we didn't like, and moving forward into that. But we will start with polls that we did in between then and now, Red Wings updates in general. So a lot of good stuff. So buckle up, get ready. Let's enjoy this episode. Carlo, we did live stream the NHL draft. We did release a video with all of our beautiful special guests that came on to see our live reactions. If you guys have not seen that, go ahead and check that out. I do want to go over a couple polls because I do believe they pertain to what is happening right now amongst the Detroit Red Wings. It's a March nightmare. It's not March madness anymore, Carlo. It is a March nightmare.
It's March sadness, everybody. It's March sadness.
It truly is. And that comes with the fact that Dylan Larkin and Andrew Copp both are out at least for the next 2 weeks. One thing I do want to point out about that, Carlo, is that people were very fixated on the fact that the reporters missed, but Tom McClellan said that they would be reevaluated. Let's touch on that. What do you get from that when you hear something like that? Does that mean that they won't be back in 2 weeks, or we should expect them in 2 weeks?
You know what? This is pure speculation, dude, but I honestly think they're sick and tired of getting these questions asked and answering the same questions over and over again. So I feel like that's just their way of basically saying, don't ask me for 2 weeks. I have no updates for you for 2 weeks.
That's a good way to look at
it. I listened to Yzerman on the radio. Forget when that was. It was
97-1 last week.
Yeah, 97-1 Tuesday or Wednesday or something like that. And, they asked him and he even said, it's a bit of a moving target right now. So I feel like there's basically good days and bad days. Look, if you don't think these guys want to come back as soon as possible, you're out of your mind. Look what David Perron did against Dallas. He wasn't expected to play for another week. And he's like, put me in. So I take it as, stop asking the same questions, expecting a different answer. You're going to get the same answer. This is their way of, kicking the can down the road so that they can focus on what they need to focus on and stop focusing on the loss of Larkin and Copp and when they're coming back. They're going to be back as soon as they possibly can be back. You're out of your mind, like I said, if you don't think they will be. We saw Copp practicing in a red jersey. He was not in that teal non-contact jersey. He was in a red jersey. I was not expecting that. I honestly thought, looking at Copp's injury, that he might not see the ice again this season. It looked kind of bad the way you could see he kind of popped. So that's huge news. And that just goes to tell you that it kind of just backs up the fact that these guys are going to come back as soon as they possibly can. Larks, you saw that sweet picture of him and Ken Daniels.
Talk about it.
Doesn't look like there's any hardware on that leg.
Dude, he was wearing, too.
Unless he's got that crazy brace, like that Stone Cold Steve Austin brace. Speaking from experience, you can conceal that because they are very tight up against that knee. They're completely custom made for your leg. You could put on a pair of hockey jeans on. If you're a quad god, there's special jeans out there for you, and you can cover up that brace and conceal it. But That's pure speculation. He was standing. He looked like he was having a good time. Didn't seem like he was in much pain. So I'm optimistic, man. I hope they're back sooner than we think, but I don't think we're going to get any more answers out of Todd if he's saying we're going to reevaluate in 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, are we talking 2 full weeks or are we talking 2 business weeks, Todd? Because there's a bit of a difference there. We got 4 days there, plus or minus.
I like the way you put it, though, because Todd definitely is someone who doesn't want to put up with media shenanigans because they definitely like to ask the same questions over and over again. Whether if that's in Detroit, anywhere else, they ask the same questions on players with their injuries, all that stuff. So for you to say that there's a theory that he's just shutting it down so he doesn't have to answer those questions anymore, I think that's more than likely true.
That's what I think. I mean, I'm not saying that's right, but that's what I would do in that situation. And like, if I'm being asked the same questions that have no relevancy to what's going on today and tomorrow and the next couple of games, yeah, like, hey, 2 weeks, we're going to reevaluate. Next question. There's nothing more to say there, right? So that's just my theory. That's my theory.
Yeah, Andrew Copp's injury, like you said, there have been some other people that say the same thing. It looked like his injury may have been a little bit worse than maybe Dylan Larkin's did. I honestly didn't think. I thought Andrew Copp wasn't going to be injured that long. I honestly thought it was just a body falling on his ankle and maybe he sprained it a little bit. But for 2 weeks, I was very surprised to hear that from Tom McClellan when that news broke out.
Yeah, I mean, I thought you can't really see it because the body, like he got that dude fell on him right on the draw, so you couldn't see his leg, but you could see him like pop, like he's like, oh, like one of those,
and
I feel that, dude. Again, I've had some knee tweaks in my day, and it just I felt it, man. I was like, oh my god.
I'm telling you, as soon as I saw Larkin do that weird stance, and whoever that was on Twitter that was saying I've been trying to do this pose for the last 6 hours in my living room and it's very doable. I can't remember who posted that. Whoever that is, if you're watching or listening, leave a comment, please.
Anything's doable when it's premeditated. Let's say that. But when you are not expecting it and you strike that pose, it could probably hurt a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure Dylan Larkin felt an instant burn. I mean, my ACL, I had an ACL injury last year around this time, and my ACL felt it. I was shivering down to the core because of that. And it's not fun. I thought that was my first reaction. I was like, that's definitely an ACL. That's maybe an MCL. Who knows? And that could take some time, but with good physical therapy, and if he just does it right, maybe a lot of cold baths, and
these guys have state of the art. Dude, this guy's probably sleeping in a hyperbaric chamber. And I mean, that's going to exponentially speed up your recovery time. Like, these guys got state of the art stuff. So, listen, you see a hockey player go down versus in the NHL versus a beer league. The beer leaguer is going to be out for probably half the year. The NHL guy is going to be back in 3 to 6 weeks. I mean, that's just how it goes.
So, Carlo, following up with that, back on March 4th, so it was before the trade deadline, which was right before the Vegas Golden Knights game. So let's talk about this first, actually.
Yeah.
Leading up to the trade deadline in the month of March, no surprise, no secret that the Detroit Red Wings, for whatever reason, cannot get it done in the month of March. That's no surprise. That's no secret to anyone, to you watchers, viewers, listeners out there. Before the trade deadline, which was on Friday, March 6th, they were 1-0-1. They beat the Predators, and they lost in overtime to the Vegas Golden Knights. They should have won that game. It was unfortunate. And going into Friday night, they lost to the Florida Panthers. So Steve Yzerman goes into the trade deadline, and we made a poll on March 4th. What would you rather trade for? And these were 4 really good center options with term, cap, and cost. And the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because a lot of people are pointing the finger at Steve Yzerman because of Larkin and Copp being injured. He did not go out and acquire a center, but he did go out and get Justin Faulk. He traded away Soderblom, and he also brought in Big Daddy P, like you mentioned, and congrats to him for making his second Detroit Red Wings debut, if you want to call it that. It was great to see him back out on the ice, and
yeah, he was awesome last night.
During the pot, within the first shift of his game, in the first 3 minutes of the game, and went on to, he collected a penalty, but it went to 4-on-4. Nonetheless, still great to have Big Daddy P back on the Red Wings team, so I love that. But Carlo, we did make this poll. A majority of the people, it was 773 votes. 61% said Robert Thomas over Trocheck, Pettersson, and O'Reilly. No secret, Steve Yzerman did not get any of these. Is it Steve Yzerman's fault for how the team is reacting now with their number 1 center and their number 2 center being out, and Steve Yzerman not getting center depth? Because people are pointing the finger. Hey, if you're going to make a run in the playoffs, playoff teams go out and get center depth.
Yeah. I mean, is it Steve Yzerman's fault that they didn't get a centerman at the trade deadline? I'm going to go with no, because Larkin and Copp were totally fine. They were healthy. There was no injury. They weren't injured. So, I mean, like, that's not Yzerman's fault. We needed a defenseman. I went into the trade deadline with my own thoughts of, if we walk out of this with, and I was a big Justin Faulk wanter all leading up to it. You know that. Everybody should know that if they're paying attention and watching this channel. And they got Justin Faulk. I'm like, if that's their only move, I'm happy, because it identifies a huge hole. So if you're one of those people who are blaming Yzerman now after the injuries, oh, he should have got a centerman. No, that doesn't make any sense. That's just, you're reaching so hard to find a reason to just bash Yzerman because you're just one of those people. That makes no sense. If I were to look at anything to fault Yzerman on, it's the fact that, listen, other teams go through injuries and they go through them and they still win hockey games. So if we don't have the supporting cast who can come up in the lineup, and I've talked about this so many times, if we can't rely on guys for a week or two to play up in the lineup, because injuries happen, they're always going to happen. If we don't have those guys, that's what I would look at Steve Yzerman for. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, Steve, you signed these guys however many years ago, and they're like, you know when you have like actors that are just like, they're cast typed. They only play certain movies, whether it's rom-coms or it's, you know what I mean? Like, he went and signed cast typed players who are like third liners, and that's all they're ever going to be. Nothing more. They can't play anything more. Right. So that's what I would probably blame Yzerman on is, you know, you signed a bunch of typecasted players who can't challenge themselves or receive a challenge and actually be successful in it. Because I look at other teams around the Red Wings, injuries happen. They still play hockey. They still win games. They don't have, you know, brutal losses or crazy losing streaks. They figure it out. That's what I would blame Yzerman for. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does make sense to me. And I love that you phrased it that way, because it brings us to our next poll that we actually did. Do you actually believe Steve Yzerman and Chris Ilitch are the reasons why big name players in the NHL don't want to sign as unrestricted free agents or come via trade to play in Detroit? Carlo, out of the 302 votes, 72% no. But there's 28% of people that actually believe those two are the reasons why they don't want to come live in the state of Michigan and play for the Detroit Red Wings. Your thoughts on that?
I have no comment, Zach. I just laugh. I don't understand how that's possible. Who doesn't want to play for a team that's run by Stevie Y? Chris Ilitch has no bearing on this team. He's just, his name is tied to it.
Yeah, he's the money
guy.
This
is Yzerman's club. This is Yzerman's club. Yes, Ilitch signs the paychecks. I get it. But like, how, my question or my response is why? To the 28% of people, simply explain your answer.
Because we haven't made the playoffs.
Yeah, that's probably why players are avoiding coming to the team, is because
that's going to be your only response that you're going to get. Basically,
right.
That's what we see.
But like, don't you realize that sometimes you need to be the difference maker? Like, you need to be the change you want to see sometimes. So like, they haven't made the playoffs, but what if you're the reason why they do? If you were to come in, you're going to be like, you're going to have a key to the city within like 2 weeks. So like, I don't know. I look at it that way. You know, I think it's more or less, dude, players right now are exercising their rights way more. We saw it with Parayko. He did not waive. He stayed in St. Louis. Like, players are exercising their rights more. And guess what, guys? You want to know why they're doing that? Because they're human beings. They have kids. They have a wife. They have family, right? They're not going to go and like uphold their life and start moving things around, going cross country, wherever they're going, different time zones. Like, dude, all these things play a major factor. So is it because of Yzerman and Ilitch? I would say absolutely not. Is it because of life? And yeah, you want to go to a team that's got a good chance of winning. And if people don't think Detroit's got a good chance of winning in the next 3 to 4 years, I mean, come on. Their window is you know, when you like, you have a window, you undo the lock and you just do that first crank and the window pops and then you can start cranking it open. That's where the Wings are right now. They literally just put their hand on the lever after unlocking it. They gave it a quick little, you know, a little counterclockwise turn, and the window popped open, the seal broke. That's where the Wings are right now. So
I'm loving
that's my analogy.
I love these connecting analogies and references. Keep them coming, buddy. That's
where I'm at. That's where I'm at with this team. If you don't think players want to come here, I mean, I guess we'll see in the offseason, but it takes two to tango. Players are exercising their rights. That's the answer that I have. And they're human beings and they have lives.
Yeah, to that point, yeah, I agree with you 100%. I mean, if let's be real, if I had an option, let's say I had two trades on the table and I'm not a Detroit Red Wings fan, I'm an actual NHL player and I had the option to go to the Florida Panthers, who obviously suck right now, but thinking about the state, thinking about a place to live, where would my family like to live,
Yeah.
or going to Detroit, more than likely as an NHL player, I'm going to go to Florida. That's just kind of the reality that we live in now. And the fact that there are now 32 teams in the NHL, Carlo, you think back 20 years ago, what, there was 28, 29, maybe 30? I'm not exactly sure the actual number, but, and like you said, players are using their rights that they get within the NHL. That's why they hand out the no move, the no trade clauses, and
Yeah.
players can exercise their rights whenever they want. And it's good for the player. Sometimes it's not great for the league, though, honestly. And we're kind of seeing that. And you can look at the free agency pool because of that. A lot of teams aren't letting these players go, and players just don't want to leave.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing that all the time with players getting extending and not even making it to market. They just want to stick around. But I look at it this way. Like I look at, and you go on Puckpedia, you filter by current cap space. You look at the teams that have as much money as the Red Wings do. Now remember, let's back up for a second. The Wings window has broken its seal. It's ready to start being cranked open, right? Now that's a team that has right now. I mean, we'll talk about next year, but we know the Wings have money. Like that's not a secret. The Wings have a lot of money, but so does Chicago, so does Anaheim, Pittsburgh, Calgary, Columbus has some money. Carolina somehow has some money too.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's going to look like next season for them, but we do know Detroit's got money. Out of those teams, like if I'm a player, I'm looking at the Wings because they're ready to take that next step. And if I could be the difference maker, I know I'm going to feel good as a player because the fans, everybody knows Red Wing fans. Patrick Kane talks about it. David Perron talks about it. These legends of the game talk about how great the fans are and how well they're treated. I'm looking at Detroit selfishly and probably with a little bit of bias too, of course, but they got the money and their window is just starting to open up. The other team I'm looking at is Anaheim. But I don't know if I'd want to live in California. Personally, yes, it's nice. It's beautiful. I've been to Anaheim. It is gorgeous. It was a long time ago, though. But original six, now it comes down to, I want to play for an original six team. I think Detroit is a destination that players would like to go to, but the timing has to be pretty much bang on. And that sometimes doesn't work out all the time, right? So I don't know, man. I think Red Wing fans need to realize that this team's window, like I said, is there. They have money to support that. Now it's a matter of the timing lining up. Everything else is kind of lining up. The checks and balances are there when it comes to window, when it comes to money and opportunity and all that stuff. Now it's timing. Does this work with the player's life that we want to go and get? It's a lot. There's a lot that goes in. I do not envy not being a GM, dude. Like there's just a lot riding on it, but there's a lot of moving parts too. So people that blame Yzerman just to blame Yzerman, like I laugh now because it's just like, man, what exactly are you blaming?
It's a thankless job for sure. And 2 days later, Carlo, was the trade deadline, and Steve Yzerman, he was active. He went out and got Justin Faulk, like we mentioned. He traded a first-round pick. So Steve Yzerman, like you said, to that reference of cranking the window open, he cranked it open a little bit by moving that first-round pick, a third-round pick that he got from the Elmer Soderblom trade, along with Dmitry Buchelnikov. I don't know if we want to touch on that, who's actually just signed one more year extension over in the KHL. So maybe that's a bullet dodge for us. Maybe Steve Yzerman didn't think there was ever an opportunity for him to actually get over here, but he was injured this year. But yeah, Steve Yzerman cranked open the window, went out and got Justin Faulk. He went out and got David Perron. But before the trade deadline, we did another poll. Do you believe the Detroit Red Wings can make the playoffs if they go 10-10 in their final 20 games of the season, Carlo? That was on March 5th. So that was before the Florida Panthers game, which is where Dylan Larkin got injured and they lost. But let's talk about the last couple seasons of the March records, the March nightmare for the Detroit Red Wings, where in 2023, this is basically where it all started. You could probably go back a little bit further, but the teams were much worse than they have been in recent years. In 2023, they went 5-9-1. In 2024, 3-9-2, 25, 4-10-0. And then so far in 2026, in the month of March, the Detroit Red Wings are 2-3-2. But Carlo, going back to the poll, out of 4 votes, 55% of the voters said the Detroit Red Wings cannot make the playoffs if they go 10-10 in their final 20. And they're 2-3-2 right now.
I'm Zach. I'm with them. I think the Wings need to be a 600 hockey club in order to make the playoffs, and that's because of the Atlantic Division and the teams around them. They're scoring, they're winning. We need to be a 600 club. Otherwise, if we're a 500 club, we are banking. We may get into the playoffs, but it's not going to be under the power of our own will. It's going to be based off of the results of other clubs losing, and I hate that. I think if you're going to be a playoff hockey team, you earn it, and you get in there and you lock yourselves in based off of your performance. When teams sneak in based off of other teams losing and other teams' performance, for me, I personally hate that. It's just like, well, did you really earn it? And it's like, well, it's an 82 game season. You know, we obviously won some games in the last 82 that got us in this place. And I hear that. But when it comes down to the swing of it, into the stretch of it, and into that runway into the playoffs, if you're not playing at your best, earning that, then do you even have business being in the playoffs? Like, I think it was Washington 2 years ago when they got in and we didn't. They got swept, right? They got bounced out. Well, I look at it that way. So for this team to be like a lock for themselves, they got to be a 600 team. And that's just, I might be wrong here, but this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, it's going to be very tough. I mean, you look at the schedule ahead, you have to play Calgary on Monday. Then you have to play 4 divisional foes,
dude,
4 straight times, and it doesn't get much easier from there. But going back to Larkin and Copp skating, Larkin looking good with Ken Daniels. If you guys haven't seen that photo, go on Ken Daniels' Instagram, or you can find it on our Twitter X account. We did post that as well. I have a strange feeling that they might be coming back sooner than we realize. And I hate to say it like this, but it kind of reminds me of what Steve Yzerman did back in 2002 when they ended up winning the Cup, where he had to take a bunch of shots and whatever else he had to do to continuously play in that season and help his team hoist the Cup once again. So, I wonder if Dylan Larkin and Andrew Copp are going to do something similar. I mean, we remember Andrew Copp last season who got injured, right? And he tried his damn best to get back to play with the boys and help make that push. And he said his wife was mad at him for trying so hard to get back on the ice. So here he is yet again, doing it again. And it's got to be very frustrating for this team. I don't know who it's more frustrating for. If it's more frustrating for Dylan Larkin, if it's frustrating for everyone, it's probably as a collective whole. But who does this really hurt the most, Carlo? Who is feeling it the most? Is it coaching? Is it Yzerman? Is it Larkin? Is it just a collective whole?
I think Todd's feeling it. I think this is definitely affecting the coaching because your team is like down 3 or 4 guys right now. So, you know, if you don't think Todd is a very intelligent coach, man, and an intelligent person, you can tell he's worn out right now because he is trying to get guys to step up that just don't step up, and they really never have. And I'm talking about the jerseys on this team. I don't think we need to mention any names. We all know who they are. In fact, one of those jerseys are out now, but it's good because it allows for Leonard to play or for Finney to, I mean, Finney played center last night. So I think it's coaching. And then I think second to that, I think this has to be weighing heavily in Dylan's mind, in Andrew Copp's mind. Dude, it's a mental grind. When you're injured and you're out for that long and you're watching your team, you're on the road trip with your team and you're seeing what's going on. Yeah, dude, that's a mental grind that you have to fight, you know, and battle with because you can't be a difference maker. It's you, maybe you are in your mind, and that right there is the battle, you know. So injuries is obviously, it sucks physically, obviously, but it sucks mentally too, man. You need to be pretty sharp and pretty fortified upstairs to get through that and not push yourself to risk, you know, an even worse injury or a re-injury. So I hope that answers your question, but I think my number one person who is this affecting, I think it's Todd.
He was if you guys watched the game against the Dallas Stars, you could tell, I mean, when the Red Wings were taking those really bad penalties, and they took some pretty bad penalties in the game against the Dallas Stars last night, you just saw him behind the bench, and he just makes those faces, and he's even like scratching his face like this, like, oh boy, what do I do here? Oy vey type of thing, but kind of stepping backwards a little bit. So the Red Wings lost at the trade deadline night, 3-1 against the Florida Panthers. They lost Dylan Larkin because of that. Then on Sunday, everyone's kind of like, okay, here we go. You're going into New Jersey against the Devils. Not exactly the greatest team this season. However, should be an interesting matchup. The Red Wings squeaked out a shutout win, 3-0. Fast forward to Tuesday. Red Wings lose 4-3 in a game they should have won, Carlo. They lost with
Yeah, dude. That
A
was rough.
minute 45 seconds left, but in a minute 15 of that minute 45, they allowed 2 goals to be scored on them. You could have secured 2 points. You could have secured 1 point, and you somehow walked away with a flat effing 0 points. And in this game, you lost Andrew Copp. And that partially could be the reason why of the collapse. But for whatever reason, the Red Wings, they just allowed the Florida Panthers to take over for the last 2 minutes of the game. Then you look at Tampa Bay. I mean, that lineup that we got against Tampa Bay, Carlo, it showcased that we should have lost 4-1. I know that we got an empty net scored on us, and there was a gut wrencher for the third goal too, because it was towards the end, but it should have been a 4-1 game. The boys did not look good at all. And to be honest, Carlo, this Dallas Stars game, you watch that power play. I'm making this call out now, and this is just my opinion. I would not be surprised if we make a special teams change when it comes to Alex Tanguay. Couple times on that power play, Hasky and I mentioned it. They were just standing around along the boards in each of their own little corners, not doing a thing. And everyone's like, okay, I'm eventually gonna pass it to you. Are you gonna shoot it? No. Okay. Well, I'm gonna do the same thing now. I'm just gonna kind of dangle it a little bit, and then I'll go pass it to you. Then we'll pass it. Then we'll pass it. No one was shooting, Carlo. Your thoughts on that take? Alex Tanguay maybe getting replaced in the offseason and bringing in a new breath of fresh air.
I mean, it's hard to say, dude, that they're still one of the top power plays in terms of percentages over the course of an 82-game season. I don't know if this falls on Tanguay more so than the fact that they have a key piece missing from their power play, too, really, from each unit. I don't know if this is on Tanguay, and I don't think Tanguay is going to be measured against the power play success with these two guys out. I really don't. I don't know exactly where they are as we are speaking right now in terms of the league in top power plays. I think they're still in the top 10. I could be wrong on that. They could have slipped. I don't know. Their power play is not the problem. I don't think it's the lack of personnel, and it's the fact that these guys just don't want to shoot. They don't have a shoot first mentality. That's not a secret. But again, now the realism comes out. Like, Dallas is no joke. They're a strong team.
They're the number 2 team in the league.
That's what I mean. They're one of the best teams in the league. Strong team. I watched a little bit of the game last night. I passed out. I didn't end up watching the whole thing, and I woke up and it was tied. That's another story. I thought I was dreaming. But they know how to play a defensive game. Like, they keep you to the outside, and it's easy for us to say, or for anybody to say, oh, you got to shoot more, you got to shoot more, you got to shoot more. It's like, bro, we can't. Like, these guys are all over us, high pressure D, keeping us to the outside. We're going to shoot, it's going to block, it's going to bounce out. Like, I get that part of it too. So, you got to give credit to Dallas because they're where they are positionally for a reason. This is one of them. But it's no secret, like I said, that the Wings simply need to shoot more, and they got to take away the goalie's eyes. These are two things that they have to do consistently that they haven't done all season long. And I think that helps with everything, whether it's power play success or 5-on-5 success. Those two things need to be consistent.
To counter your point, I do agree with you that it slightly does come down to the personnel because, yeah, you're losing 2 key guys for your power plays for both units, with Larkin and Copp being on the second unit. It is still the specialist coach's responsibility to fit the scheme around the players that you have. You have to do that with the worst of teams that you got, like in 2019, 20, 21, 22, etc.
Yes.
So
remember how I said they have typecasted players? How do you tell a guy who's been in thriller suspense movies, super serious, to go and play a lead role in a comedy movie? Because that's what we're asking Comfer to do. We're asking Comfer to go play. The guy is let's pretend Comfer is this thriller suspense. It's like seeing Joaquin Phoenix in a comedy. Like, or it just, how is that going to? How is that going to be? So terrible. That's why I have a hard time putting this on Tanguay. And yes, part of me is saying, Steve, like, stop signing typecasted players that can't step up and play a little bit of a different role or adapt, be a chameleon and go and do this for a couple of games. Like, that's more of a problem and more alarming to me. So I don't know. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. Well, and that even kind of goes back to the whole free agency. You go look at that free agency pool and then tying it to the cap, like you mentioned. Yeah, we're going to have a lot of cap. I actually see Steve Yzerman making more trades than probably signing free agents in this offseason because of that, of the free agency pool. Like we mentioned, all the middle 6, top 6 players are already locked in with their clubs. What, you want Darren Radish or whoever it is to and sign him to a $6 million deal because that's probably what he's going to ask for because cap's going up, and that's what we're going to get. I mean, we were even talking about last night, Heskey and I, a fourth line center, which we could probably easily get if we wanted to get a 4C. You're probably going to have to pay them anywhere from $2 to $4 million now because of that cap rise.
Oh,
so is that something we want to do? Probably not. Red Wings fans probably aren't ready for that. So I hear your point. As type players, however, we still have players like Alex DeBrincat, who really isn't shooting. Lucas Raymond, I remember this time last season or the season before that, who was Mr. Clutch mode coming out of nowhere, especially in those games against the Montreal Canadiens. Maybe he could still do that for us because we do have to play him here in a couple days. And then I think one more time after that. I could be wrong. But nonetheless, Lucas Raymond can shoot the puck more. I know that Kaner's not a shooter. He's definitely a pass first kind of guy. But you would think Tanguay would be going to these guys that we should be relying on. And I get you. I'm not doing that with JT Compher. I wasn't even saying when they were going out 3-on-3, you're putting out Lucas Raymond, Alex DeBrincat, and Moritz Seider. Don't put JT Compher on the ice. And they still did it anyways because they needed someone to take the center position. I totally get that. But we still have players on here like NBN as a shooter. We have plenty of people who can shoot the puck. And I'm just kind of surprised that Tanguay isn't leaning on some of these guys who aren't shooting enough to shoot a little bit more. And it's still just a pass first mentality there. So maybe it's not on Tanguay. I really don't know who it's on. Maybe it's these players. And it goes back to the whole jersey mentality thing. So I don't know. But back to what I was saying too, I can definitely see Steve Yzerman because of the way that free agency is shaping up, that it's one or two things, Carlo. He does very minimal at free agency, gets someone who he thinks can help out, maybe on PK, maybe just a power play specialist or a grinder type of guy. And from there, he brings up a bunch of young players or he goes out and trades. I can see a reality where too, though, he trades one of Kasper or Danielson and makes an upgrade with them for a legit centerman right now. I don't think Nate Danielson could be a 3C for us next year. I think that's fine. But if you want to be a better team, it starts with Andrew Copp being bumped down. And I love the fact that he had a good season this year. Can he do that again? I don't know. So because of that, I'm doing everything I can to make an upgrade from one of our prospects. Maybe you have to add a little sweetener to get someone who can play the 2C now and for you in the future. Someone who's relative to the same age as Kasper and Nate Danielson. Someone brought up Shane Wright, which I thought was interesting. Shane Wright's not having a good year with the Seattle Kraken, but maybe just needs a change of scenery. I don't think Marco Kasper is going to be a center when his career is done, Carlo, personally to me. Nate Danielson will.
Yeah, Dano.
Your thoughts overall on that, though?
I think trading is probably the avenue Steve's going to go. I think he wants to keep Danielson and Kasper first. Like, I think that's his first priority or his first, like...
Of course. Absolutely.
No, obviously, let's try to keep these guys. I think what they need to do is they need to upgrade the jerseys on this team. Number 27, number 37, number 25, and number 22. Those are the 4 spots in the lineup that need to be addressed because they aren't doing anything. They are providing no value to this hockey team. And when they're being called upon to get out of this role and start playing this type of role because we need you to, they just can't do it. I'm not going to say they don't want to do it. I don't think these people are stubborn and like they're not like that. I just don't think they physically can do it.
Yeah, it's a skill set issue for sure.
I would look at upgrading those guys. You know, if that may mean keeping Copp on the second line. I think Copp's held his own on the second line. I do think that. If you're trying to upgrade 2C to drive Copp down, which I'm not opposed to that, that's when, yes, you're probably looking at it costing a Kasper or a Danielson plus, whatever, for sure.
Depending on the player you're getting, yes.
But I don't think upgrading Andrew Copp is a bigger priority than upgrading 27, 37, 22, and 25. What's the bigger priority? And I think it's addressing those 4 spots because Copp can hold his own. I don't think they need to really worry about Andrew Copp unless they know something we don't. They're predicting he's going to nosedive. Who knows? I mean, they have analytics and they have things that they look at to project things. I just don't see it. I think Andrew Kopp's perfectly fine. And I'm addressing the guys who are costing us, have costed us, but are even costing us more now because they just can't level up there.
And that's a very fair point because you look at the stats for 3 particular players that you actually mentioned, and we'll start with Michael Rasmussen here, who has only 14 points this season in the 61 games played, 6 goals, 8 assists. Carlo, the daunting thing with all these players is that year over year, since being in their Red Wings tenure, they have digressed extremely. I mean, you look at Michael Rasmussen, not far removed, 23-24 season, he put up 33 points on 75 games. And that was the season where we said he's the reason why we didn't make the playoffs because he got injured. That or was that previous
Yeah,
season?
because
I
he was
can't
playing
remember.
well. I remember he was playing really well. Was it the month of January where he just started turning it on?
So it was actually the season before because he only played in 56 games that season. So it was that season where he put up 29 points and we thought that he was going to be a 40-point guy consistently. So then following up, he had a better season. I mean, points-wise, it was still kind of down from that season, but 75 games played, 33 points, 13 goals. Then 24-25, 77 games played, Carlo. It went from 33 points down to 21 points. And then this season, he's projected to finish with 17 points. In 2 seasons, you went from 33. You subtracted half your point production just on Michael Rasmussen alone. And then JT Compher, it's basically the same thing with him in his Red Wings tenure. His first season, 23-24, 77 games played, 19 goals, 29 assists, 48 points. It was stomachable. Was it great? No. Was it stomachable? Yes. We may have a 2-3C here. Great. Perfect. It's not the greatest contract, but it's doable. Following season, last year, 11 goals, 21 assists in 76 games for 32 points. 16-point drop off, Carlo. This season, 67 games played, 9 goals, 12 assists, 21 points. He's on pace for 26 points.
Yeah. And he's arguably playing with better players around.
Yeah, and then even someone like Mason Appleton, who's only in his first season, he's regressed since being with the Jets in terms of the point production. And granted, people will sit there and say, what do you expect? These are bottom 6 players. Bottom 6 players can still produce. And then when you see the trend that they continuously regressing, that becomes an issue. And what do business people do when you own a business, Carlo, and you see year over year, you're losing money, you're regressing, you're not gaining? What happens? Lay it down for the folks.
There's going to be a crazy evaluation. There's going to be an evaluation and you're probably not going to be around. If you're caught, because at that point your ROI is in the negatives. So we have to make an adjustment. Otherwise, we're just going to be out of business if we don't. So, yeah, I think that's why I said those 3 guys that we just looked at, they need to be addressed.
And they really do, because the game against Tampa, they brought up NBN, who is now day-to-day, mind you. Michael Rasmussen is now out for a week.
Why not? Put him up. Yeah. Put him on the bench, too, because he's injured. Yeah, why not? That's just what we're doing.
In the game against Tampa, NBN unfortunately was paired up with, I think it was Michael Rasmussen and Mason Appleton. And that was the worst line the whole entire game. You even went back and looked at the statistics of that and who the player cards and everything. And they were the worst line out there. And I feel bad. I actually genuinely feel bad that Todd felt putting NBN on a line with 2 guys who haven't even existed this whole entire calendar year for this team would put him there with those 2 types of players. I get it. Big physical body guy. He could bring the hits, whatever. He's got one hell of a shot. Why wouldn't you put him in the top 6? I was just very confused by that. And I think it kind of feels degrading to NBN a little bit. I feel like it's a little disrespectful to kind of put him in that situation, especially if you're trying to win against a divisional rival like the Tampa Bay Lightning.
I do agree with you that he's not being put in the best position for him to use his shot. He is being put in a position for him to use his checking abilities. That's kind of that's where I'm seeing it. Now, do I agree with it? If that is truly the case, because again, this is just my theory. This is my own speculation. Do I agree with it? I sort of do. Because he had a brutal giveaway. I think he's had a couple brutal giveaways. Like, he's still making those rookie types of mistakes. Now, you're not going to get mad at him for it. He's young. He's going to learn. There's a lot of upside still with MBN. But I think they're easing him into it again. I think you will see him eventually, as these games progress, I think you will see him get a little higher up in the lineup once he starts getting, acclimated to the NHL. But I think they're starting him off here, get his checking wits about him, do that, understand the pace. And then once he gets there and he starts playing some complete games without making these crazy mistakes that rookies would make, I think you're going to see him get a little more trust behind him from the coaches. And I think you're going to see him rise into, potentially a top 6 spot, or maybe on a PP1 for that shot, for the shooting ability. That's my hot take on MBN. I think it's coming. It's just they're slow dripping it to get him acclimated, get his feet wet, all that stuff.
I sure do hope so. I have nothing to follow up with that other than I sure do hope so. But he is day-to-day, unfortunately. Hopefully he comes back sooner than later because we desperately need bodies. But we've called up plenty of Grand Rapids players, Carlo. One being
Yeah.
Dominic Shine getting his
Yeah.
first career NHL goal. So I thought
He's
that
been
was
playing
really
great
cool.
too.
John Leonard's also been called up. Edward Trail Mix. I call him Trail Mix. Trail
Trail
Max.
mix.
He did get the call up. He unfortunately did not get to play in the game, which I thought, which is kind of weird because he had a really good Olympics with Latvia. So I figured maybe he would be able to find a spot. Talking about Dominic Shine's path to his first career NHL goal, Carlo, Toffer Scott posted this, Hockey Think Tank. That's his at. 4 years of junior hockey in the USHL. Comes into college hockey at Northern Michigan as a 20-year-old. Doesn't get drafted to the NHL. Plays 4 years of college hockey before signing a pro contract. Plays 8 years in the AHL before getting a call up to the NHL. Becomes the captain for a first place team in the AHL, the Grand Rapids Griffins. And finally, Carlo, in his 9th full professional season at 32 years old, scores his first NHL goal.
Big bravo, man. That's a hell of a come up, hell of a story for Dominic Shine. And you want to talk about having motivation, inspiration, all the Asians across the nations. Go and pay attention to Dominic Shine, understand his story, because that's a hell of a story. And good for him, man. I was super, super pumped when he scored his goal, man. What a pass by JVR2, man. That was nasty. And his celly kind of showed that he was loving it. But yeah, Dominic, and you know what, Zach? He's been great. He has been playing, I think he's been playing awesome. He's been giving the team, or the bottom six, I should say, a spark. So yes, the team a spark. A little bit of a jump down there. I have nothing but good things to say about Shiner, man. He's a gamer. Guy plays with the heart of a lion.
All those call-ups, Carlo, it comes at a really good time for Grand Rapids because not only are the Red Wings calling up all their in-betweeners, I guess older veteran AHL players, we'll call them that, right? A lot of the younger prospects for Detroit Red Wings, like Nate Danielson, Amadeus Lombardi, and I think Carter Mazer might be injured again. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could have sworn I heard that. But Grand Rapids, they also lost last night. I think it was like 5-2, and it was the first time that Kosa let in more than one goal in a single period, pretty much almost all season. It was incredible. Elaine, our good friend, actually posted that. So I'll give you credit for that, Elaine. That was pretty cool to read last night. But big implications from Let's Go Red Wings Prospects on Twitter says that there are big implications for the Griffins getting some bodies soon. And this was posted 3 days ago that it says today in the SHL, 2 games remaining, the last being on Saturday, so which was yesterday. Both Genborg and Anton Johansson could miss the playoffs/regulation games and come over after Saturday. So there is a good chance that we could see Eddie Genborg and Anton Johansson suiting up for the Grand Rapids Griffins here pretty soon. And touching on that as well, Carlo, it's going to be a trickle-down effect here, so bear with me here. The MSU Spartans, Michigan State Spartans, back on March 5th, they did win the Big Ten championship, so they were the championships of the Big Ten. Congratulations to them. So to him and Trey Augustine. Playing in the Big Ten tournament, though, Carlo, MSU versus Ohio State University goes into overtime. Ohio State beats Michigan State University 3-2. I don't know if this means that MSU no longer can be in the Frozen Four. I don't know how that works. But Kevin Allen, just yesterday, right before that loss, Augustine expected to sign after the college season. Is that a jinx or what? But like I said, I don't know if that means that he can immediately come over, if he can still play in the Frozen Four. I'm not sure how that works, but they can no longer be Big Ten champions. But what would it mean for Grand Rapids to get these 3 guys for them? And what does that technically mean for the Detroit Red Wings, I guess, if they get those bodies as well? Could we eventually see a Nate Danielson, Amadeus Lombardi, and Carter Mazer call up to help make a push towards the end of the season?
Yeah, it's going to be huge, man. That'll be huge for them, for GR, especially if you can get those types of guys who have had themselves some fun this year. It's been fun to also watch a little bit from afar. So shout out to LGRW Prospects for keeping it fresh and keeping it real so we can see what's popping over there. Yeah, it'll be big for GR. It'll be, I don't know how much it'll impact the Red Wings, maybe with, these players that are out right now and being able to keep these guys up a little bit longer, Leonard, MBN. I mean, if these guys start to figure it out and acclimate and they start producing successfully and being some difference makers, we're keeping them up, I would hope, some way, somehow, unless we cannot do that, which is also a possibility with roster, sizes and all that stuff. But this will be big for GR to keep on doing what they've been doing all season long, man. They've been really running the table. And if you can go and inject some guys of that stature into that club right now, man, can't really ask for much more. But right now, with the injuries on the Red Wings, they have some big time holes that they need to plug. And I'm hoping that we get to see, the guys you mentioned come across. I'm really, really excited about Augustine, though, man. It's like, who's not excited about a guy like that? He's just such a consistent goalie. I know you're probably going to get into his numbers over the course of the last few seasons, but just so consistent and just an absolute just puck stopper, dude. I've even seen a couple of his players. I think they were on the Spit and Chicklets show. I don't know how long ago it was. It was this year. I don't know when.
Yep.
But they were talking about him, and they're like, man, he's like the best goalie in the world. Like, if we score on him in practice, we sell like we just scored a goal in a game because he just doesn't let in anything.
Yeah, who was that? I remember watching that and them saying that because he is so competitive that he even talks a lot of crap to them. Like, you guys will never score against me because he takes it so seriously. And that is Yzerman MO type of player.
100%.
And I will get into his stats. We're going to talk about some of these other players. And there's two other players, Carlo, that could be making their way to Grand Rapids as well, or maybe the Detroit Red Wings. I think that's where we'll kind of end it from here. So we'll touch on these and then we'll wrap it up into our final thoughts. But Eddie Genborg, if he does make his North America debut here pretty soon, in the SHL this season, in 43 games played, 9 goals, 16 assists for 25 points, which is very on pace for some of the other Swedish prospects that we've seen throughout the years at 18 years old. That's a really good stat line from him. 24 penalty minutes as well with a plus minus of a +8. Let's Go Red Wings prospects at one point did say how many hits he had because he is a very physical type of player. And I think it was Lars Thorzel who actually, and I didn't save that tweet either, and I should have, but he translated an article or a phrase from someone who was a former NHL player and just raved on Eddie Genborg and how it was a mistake almost to not put Genborg on the World Junior Championship team or something relative to that. If you guys want to go ahead and find that is on Twitter X, translated to English from Swedish. But it sounds like that this might be NBN 2.0, just a later pick, honestly, who does still have a great shot, it looks like, and comes with some physicality. And he's not exactly a small player. He's 6'2", 198 pounds. You had an extra 10 pounds on that kid? He's a bowl of oatmeal.
Dude, that for an 18-year-old?
Yeah,
6'2", almost 200 pounds. I mean, dude.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's a big boy.
That's a bowl of oatmeal extra protein, my friend.
And then let's stick to the units because Anton Johansson, who's 21, he did play with Grand Rapids for a little bit in their stretch of the playoffs last season and then ended up going back playing for Sweden and figured that there may be better opportunity there, which I think was probably the correct call. He did get more of an opportunity here. His team just unfortunately wasn't that good, but he is a defenseman. He's 6'4". He's a former 2022 draft pick. He shoots right. Like I said, 6'4", 196 pounds, Carlo. So another guy who can add an extra 10 to 15 pounds, and that's going to take maybe an off season, maybe 2 off seasons, and he's going to be there. Like I said, he's 21 this season with his club in the SHL, 42 games played. And this is a defenseman, by the way, 5 goals, 12 assists for 17 points on a really bad team in the SHL, 49 PIMs, 49, plus minus of 0, just a straight 0. This is someone who long-term you project to be the guy who is behind ASP on that third pair and potentially maybe with the Aljo and Anjo combo. Yeah,
I'm in. I like it.
Let's do it. And then going over to Trey, obviously, yes, this season does come to an end, unfortunately, but Grand Rapids, they're expecting a really great goalie, and it's going to be interesting too because they still have Kosa, they have Postava, they got Gylander down in Toledo. The Red Wings have a plethora of goaltending right now, Carlos. So it's going to be interesting to see how Steve Yzerman goes about this. Maybe we see Kosa just get called up because of a body and letting, who knows what the direction that they're going to go in. But yes, his stats with Michigan State, if his collegiate career is over, in 23, 24, 35 games played, a 2.96 goals against and a 9.15 for a 23-9-2 record. Like Carlos said, very consistent player because last season in 24-25, 30 games played, so a little less, but they had a backup guy. It was almost kind of like a 1B situation, and then he ended up transferring because Trey was staying.
Yep. I remember that.
2 goals against and a 924 save percentage. Down on his record, 19-7-4, but then this season he picked it back up, 32 games played, a 209 save percentage. So that save percentage has has looked really nice ever since his first season. A 929, or his goals against, sorry. His save percentage, 929. So it's definitely gotten better as the years progress. And then his record was 23, 8, and 1. And each of those 3 seasons, Carlo, he also registered 3 shutouts.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
What is the move, real quick, I guess? What's the angle here with Trey Augustine? Assuming that Kosa is the backup next season, they don't extend Cam Talbot. Then you look at John Gibson. He's having one hell of a year. If he does well again, I know we've touched on this before, but what exactly is the projection for Trey Augustine? What's his path look like? Because it doesn't really seem like that there is a straight linear path that we could just look down like a tunnel and say that's the end of the tunnel when we could see him dressing for the Detroit Red Wings. Because if John Gibson continues to play well going into next season, you might have to extend him. We can't trade him. We can't allow him walk for free. So what do you think about this?
That's an interesting one, man. I mean, they're in a really interesting position with their goaltenders because, John Gibson's playing out of his mind. He's playing really, really, really well. And if he continues to play really, really well, they're going to have to obviously make a decision here. Now, are they going to run? You know what I wonder? I wonder if they get to a point. I mean, this isn't new to the Detroit Red Wings. They did it for a while. Do they go back to running 3 goaltenders if they have to? And I'm talking about Gibson, Kosa, and somebody else to get Kosa some reps, but to also make sure they have, John Gibson there as well as kind of their main guy, which I think he is going to be. But do they go back to running 3 goaltenders? And then do they get to a point year 2, 3 down the road where they run 3 goaltenders and maybe it's Gibson, Kosa, and Augustine to get Augustine in and get some reps. I wonder if they go that route because I don't know another route that you take without keeping one of those goalies in Grand Rapids full time. So if they really want to see if these guys can hang at the NHL level, which I mean, you kind of have to do. Like I see people randomly all the time. Oh, it's Gibson and Kosa. It's Gibson and Kosa next year. It's like maybe we haven't even seen Kosa play and in the NHL for like a full a full game. Like, you know what I mean? He came in against Buffalo and then won in the shootout. But I want to see him play. I want to see him play 6 games, and let's see where he's at. So I don't know. What do you think? That's what I'm kind of thinking. And this again, just a theory. But I think they might have to run 3 goaltenders again to get these guys reps.
Maybe. That is one avenue that you can go with it. I think for me, what I would like to see is you might have to move on from either Postava or Gylander in a trade somewhere. Next season, you could run either Trey Augustine and Carter Gylander. Carter Gylander has had AHL starts where if you don't feel comfortable with Trey Augustine doing it, you at least have him. You let them figure it out. You're going to have plenty of new players coming over to the Grand Rapids Griffins. So maybe it's kind of like one of those start fresh seasons. They went on a tear this year. You're kind of revamping. You're not going to have as great of a season. Maybe you do. I hope that you do. But it would probably be that for me. I don't know about running 3 goaltenders only because you don't want to keep limiting Kosa. Eventually, you kind of just have to rip the Band-Aid off and I guess throw him into the pack of wolves, so to say. But you're not going to do it to where he's playing in back-to-back games. He's not playing 3 games in a row unless an injury happens. And I think you do what you can to. Injuries happen all the time, as we can see. So maybe they do run 3 because of that, and you just never truly know. And John Gibson, he does have an injury history. But for Kosa, yeah, I think you just really have to rip the Band-Aid off. And I get it that he hasn't played in a full 60-minute game once in his career playing in the NHL. It's only been that weird record that he accomplished within the whole entire NHL, the first player goaltender to ever do that. But yeah, I think it would be John Gibson and Kosa for me, bearing anything else. But I think it starts with moving on from either Postava or Gylander. I would prefer not to have 3 goaltenders personally.
Fair. That's fair. I don't know how they're going to make it work, but I don't think they're going to throw Kosa in and let him just kind of figure it out. I don't think they've ever really.
And that's the hindsight to it, but you still would kind of do that even if you had 3 goaltenders. Because if you're nervous that he's not going to be able to figure it out, the loss is still going to come if you put him in net. So you might as well just kind of throw him into the pack of wolves to start for the season, so to say. So you let John Gibson play 3 games to start. That gets in 1. John Gibson plays another 3. Kosa starts another
something
1.
Like that. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
If you could do that.
I can see them still holding on to 3 guys because what if it doesn't work out?
And that's where I was going to. And then if that point Kosa doesn't seem ready, then maybe you go out and trade for a third goaltender. Maybe there's a team out there that has someone who could whatever, but we know that that doesn't necessarily happen anymore in the NHL either because teams are just so finicky with their goaltending that they want to keep their goaltenders. Unless you're the Edmonton Oilers and the Pittsburgh Penguins.
And that's where you lose leverage, right? Is when you need something, well, players, other teams know you need it, and then things become a little bit more expensive. So I don't know, man. I think if Steve, like, let's just look at Steve Yzerman's track record. He doesn't give anybody anything. Like, you need to like go and earn your keep. I don't think he's going into next season with a Gibson Kosa, and that's it. I don't see it. I see Gibson, backup goalie, Kosa, and to your point, I think you're going to get Gibson's going to get his games, Kosa. Gibson's going to get his games, Kosa. Because they got to start to pulse him in to really kind of judge him and get some NHL stats for him, right? I don't think you can do that without a third goalie. Because what if?
Then the option here that I never really considered, and fans might not like this, but we'll just lay it out on the table, extending Cam Talbot for one more season.
I mean, it's possible. If he's still got it, it's possible.
You could sign him to a minimum deal. I mean, the dude will be 40, I think. That's 39 or 40.
Yeah, like, that's where I'm kind of like pumping the brakes a little bit. Like, I think I'd rather get a little bit of a younger goaltender. I don't think Cam Talbot. I love Cam Talbot. He's going to always be a fan favorite of mine.
The reason for my suggestion is because you only have to sign him to a 1-year deal. That's all he's going to take. I mean, he would probably take 6 years if you offered it to him, but he just won't play for you at that point anymore, right? So, but give him a 1-year deal, give him maybe $2 million. And, you know, it's not him splitting time with Kosa and Gibson. It would be Cam Talbot splitting time with Kosa. Because Kosa wouldn't even be splitting time with Gibson. If it's going a 3-1 ratio, then it's one-on-one with Kosa and Talbot at that point. You're going to minimize Talbot as much as you can. And if Gibson gets injured, at least you have Talbot, who has the NHL experience.
Yeah, but you're going to have a 40-year-old Talbot.
I don't know what free agent goaltender is only going to sign a 1-year deal with your club. I mean, if there's some free agents out there that you think that might be able to, I'd welcome them for sure. If it comes in younger, relatively the same play as what Talbot has been able to offer us. Granted, it's not the greatest, but you look at goaltending across the league, no goaltenders really doing that amazing right now. There's obviously some, but not all. So goaltending's been tough in the stretch of years.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what they would do there.
Let us know down in the comments what you guys think, right, Carlo?
A free agent goaltender that I would probably look at is Vitek Vanacek. 30 years old. He'll be 31 next year. He's a UFA. I would maybe look at something like that to have as your backup with Gibson and Kosa. I don't know. But that's if they even go that route. I could be way off here. You know what I mean? I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah. Yeah, just a fun little topic that we wanted to talk about. So,
but no, you know what? You nailed it. Let us know what you would do or what you think's going to happen. If you think it's Kosa's job and he's the backup goalie, you know, why do you think that? And what happens if it doesn't work out? Because at that point, the Red Wings would be scrambling. They need a backup, and they kind of don't have any leverage to get a good deal if they got to trade for one or whatever. So, you know, let us know what you think and what you would do and how you would do it. Because that's an interesting topic, especially for the come up of Sebastian Kosa in the NHL. I mean, this is something exciting that a lot of fans want, but we got to do it. I think it's got to be done the right way.
Yeah.
So we don't get burned.
I agree. For sure. I got 2 other players I want to talk about because they should be coming to Grand Rapids, hopefully. One of them being Max Plant, who is in the NCAA for the University of Minnesota Duluth, who I would expect going into the Frozen Four. I'm not sure exactly what their tournament situation is looking like, but for those that don't know Max Plant, he is 20 years old. He is from Minnesota. That's where his birthplace is. He's 5'11", 176 pounds. He is a very skinny man, but he's a former 2024 pick, second round, 47th overall by the Red Wings. And in his second NCAA season, wearing the A for Minnesota Duluth, 37 games played, 23 goals, 25 assists for 48 points. He is 5th in the NCAA for points, and then points per game, he is 9th in the NCAA. But this is a player that Red Wings fans, once his collegiate season is over, should be making that jump. Is Max Plant someone you would be interested in seeing suiting up for the Wings?
Like eventually? Absolutely.
Eventually, but in this purpose, let's paint a scenario. Let's say Larkin and Copp for whatever reason, let's say Max Planck's season ends next week.
I don't think we're going to see him in
You don't
Detroit.
think we would see him at any point this season?
I don't think so. I could be wrong. I just don't think so. Unless the season's over. But if we're trying to get in still and we're flirting with the spot, I don't think so.
Yeah, and I believe that they have him playing more wing than they do center. He can play center, but I'm pretty sure with Minnesota he has been playing majorly on the wing. And then the last player that I wanted to touch on, Carlo, is Mr. Carter Bear, the most recent first-round draft pick of the Detroit Red Wings in 2025, 13th overall. Carlo, in his last 5 games, he's got 5 points, but in his last 10, he has 16. And for this season, in his 50 games played, 35 goals, 37 assists for 72 points, 44 plus minus, and that's a plus. He's on pace for 78 points. He's only got 4 more games left to go. So he's projected to finish out with 38 goals, 40 assists. I would love to see this kid playing Grand Rapids, and some say there may be an opportunity for him to make a push to make the team next year for the Detroit Red Wings, because Carter Bear was someone who was extended when we were in preseason to continuously play with the Red Wings and get reps before going to his team, the Everett Silvertips, in the WHL. Your thoughts on Carter Bear in his season?
I think he's having a great season. He's been coming on as of late. The last month, I think he's been really kind of lighting it up, maybe 2 months, and just putting up points like crazy. So exactly what you want to see. It's exactly what you want to see from that type of player, that type of pick, coming off the injury he came off of. This is all good signs and positivity ahead with a guy like that. So this is all good stuff.
Carlo, I think that's it. Let's talk about the standings real quick. The Red Wings now hold the second wild card spot. Let me update this because it should be 80 points. They are tied in points with the Boston Bruins at 80, but we have 1 more game played. They have 1 more win than we do, and they have 2 more regulation wins than we do. So technically, they would beat us in a tiebreaker. You look at the Columbus Blue Jackets, they're 1 point behind us with 1 less game played than we do. If they were to get a point, let's say they played today, we would be ahead of them still. We would still hold that wild card 2 spot because we have more regulation wins than them. Then you look at the rest of the teams like the Buffalo Sabres, 88 points, Tampa Bay, 84 points. That's still within reach, Carlo. That's just 2 games. Montreal still within reach as well. However, we have 2 more games played than both of those teams, but 2 points behind. It's really not that far of a reach. But you also got to be careful of the Ottawa Senators, Philadelphia Flyers, and I guess maybe continue to count in the Washington Capitals, I guess. They were sellers, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, no, it's there's no room for error, man. There's no room for error. It is white knuckles all the way through without a question. And you know, these are some of the reasons why I think we're going to hopefully see Larks and Copp back a little sooner than they're making it out to be. But who knows? Who knows?
And hopefully it comes towards the end of this week or even before the Ottawa Senators game. But the games this week, we go up against Calgary on the 16th, which is tomorrow on Monday. This episode will be releasing on Sunday. It's currently 10:50 in the morning on 3/15/2026. Then on Thursday, so you got 2-day break there, which will come in handy for not only the current players that are on the roster, but the injured players as well. You go up against the Habs. All these games are at home, by the way, and then on Saturday against the Boston Bruins. So that follows up with next week, Tuesday, against the Sens as well. So, Carlo, it's 3 divisional rivals right there, and then Buffalo Sabres in their home buildings. So it's going to be a rough, very rough 2 weeks, next 2 weeks for Detroit Red Wings. Hopefully Dylan Larkin and Andrew Copp, one of the two. I don't need both at the same time. One of the two.
Point, we would take any of them back. I mean, with Copp skating and Copp practicing and Copp on the ice, clearly it seems that he's probably more likely to be back sooner. So even if we can get Copper back, that would be, I think, a big jump for the squad, for the team, because it's Andrew Copp, and he's been playing really, really well under Todd. And I just miss his post games, to be honest with you, dude. I loved listening to that guy talk hockey because he's got it. He's got it, and he knows the game clearly. So I'll take Copp back any day, but this team needs them both back a lot sooner than they're projecting, and I hope that's the case because we got a tough road ahead, dude. It's gonna be an interesting one. White knuckling it, folks.
What do you think the chances are that one of Copp or Larkin, it's more than likely Andrew Copp, considering he's the one who's skating, comes back in time for the game against the Montreal Canadiens? What do you think are the chances there, the odds?
Against Montreal to have one of them?
it's more than likely Copp. So what do you think the chances are for Copp? I'd say
I
maybe like a
mean,
30% chance.
yeah, I mean, I don't even know what we're basing this off of, but yeah, I mean, if you look at the amount of days, he's got 3 days off, like pure days off. If he's not playing against Calgary, that's 4 days off, including today before Montreal. I mean, it's put him a week ahead of schedule. Is it possible? Anything's possible.
And look at Big Daddy P.
Exactly.
All right, Carlo.
All right, man. You heard it
March
here
Madness
first.
or March Nightmare?
It's March sadness, my friend. This is what we're at.
That is terrible. Carlo, final thoughts?
Positive thoughts. Just try to remain positive. Don't go off the deep end. Don't put out the negative juju out there. Let's just take it one day at a time, and let's not completely shit on these guys. Let's give them some positivity and some positive juju to go into each game, and that's what they need, right?
Mhm.
We don't need to talk about this, and we don't need to talk about that, all the bad stuff, the ugly stuff, the negative stuff. Let's keep it sweet. Let's keep it short. Let's keep it positive. And more importantly, let's truly take it one game at a time and see what happens. We're still in this thing, right? They showed last night they can power up and juice it up if they need to. Now it's like, you need to, like, you absolutely need to do this every single shift. Let's see what happens, but we have to take it one game at a time. So my final thought, Zach, is take it one game at a time. No time for negativity, but we got to be positive. We got to remain positive. And that's my final thought.
I'm with you there. Yeah, I mean, you were down 2-0, the most dangerous lead in a hockey game that you could ever possess, 2-0 lead, and they were able to come back and send it to overtime with the Dallas Stars, the second best team in the National Hockey League. They haven't won, or they've obviously been winning. They haven't lost a game, I think, in their last 12 or 15, whatever it is. I think they're 13-0-2 in their last 15. I saw that crazy stat.
Jeez.
So the Red Wings were able to tie it up with them, send it into OT. So that gives me faith. And like Carlos said, you got to take it one day at a time. I know you wanted 2 points, but a comeback like that with this team being so depleted, and I see some fans out there saying the Red Wings are just getting lucky. I've heard people say that for them the whole entire season. Okay, if you want to say this one they got lucky, I'm okay with that. But to say the team was lucky the whole entire season, getting wins and being a top 10 team, I think that's shenanigans. That's nonsense. And I think that fans should be empowering this team more than ever and standing behind them, that they can do this, they can get the job done. And there is still hope and an opportunity for them to take it, grab it, pull it, yank it, and make the freaking NHL playoffs.
Hey.
Please, they will. I believe in them.
One game at a time.
One game at a time.
First.
And with that being said, I think we can wrap it up here. Thanks for joining us once again on this brand new episode of Hockeytown Rundown. If you are returning, but if you are brand new and made it to the tail end, thank you so much. Truly do appreciate it. Your face is so beautiful. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. That lets you know when these brand new episodes come out, as well as our live stream and our short videos. If you are on all the social media platforms, the major ones, you can go ahead and follow us on there as well. And those are our final thoughts, right, Carlo? Why don't you go ahead and write us out. Write us out, buddy. Write us out.
That's it, man. That's all we got. That's all she wrote. Let's keep the comments going. Let's keep the engagement popping. Liking the video is very important, folks, and we really do appreciate it. Thank you, by the way, because that's really been popping off the last few videos. So we appreciate y'all, and we'll be back throughout the week with some lives. We'll be back next week for a little bit of a conversation, discussion around what we're seeing and what's happening. But until next time, we'll catch y'all on the next one. Later.
Love you. Goodbye. See you guys.
Nice guy.
Wow.
Great guy.
Really nice guys. Really nice guys.